Hello YouTube, it's Barbara Jean. I'm going to make, obviously, I'm going to make a video today. It's actually has to do with a reoccurring dream that I've been having, and I had it again. I had it yesterday morning, and so the Lord wanted me to make this video yesterday, but I didn't, so I'm making it today. And anyway, I've got a lot of scriptures I want to read. I want to have quite a few scriptures I want to read. So let me just get started. And the first scripture I want to read is Matthew 6, starting at verse 19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The next scripture is quite lengthy. I want to read 2 Corinthians starting at chapter 5, starting at verse 1. And I want to read actually the whole chapter. For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens, where indeed we groan and long to put on our heavenly dwelling, so that by putting it on we may not be found naked. For while we are still in this tent, we sigh with anxiety, not that we would be unclothed, but that we would be further clothed, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. He who has prepared us for this very thing is God, who has given us the Spirit as a guarantee. So we are not always of good so we are always of good courage. We know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. We are of good courage, and we would rather be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to please him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive good or evil according to what he has done in the body. Therefore, knowing the fear of the Lord, we persuade men, but what we are is known to God, and I hope it is known also to your conscience. We are not commending ourselves to you again by giving you cause to be proud of us, so that you may be able to answer those who pride themselves on a man's position and not of his heart. For if we are beside ourselves, it is for God. If we are in our right mind, it is for you. For the love of Christ controls us, because we are convinced that one has died for all, therefore all have died, and he died for all, that those who live might live no longer for themselves, but for him who for their sake died and was raised. And from now on, therefore, starting at verse 16, from now on, therefore, we regard no one, even a human point of view. Even though we must regard Christ from a human point of view, we regard him thus no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. So basically what he's saying here is that God through Christ reconciled us or gave us peace with God, and that is our message to the world, that we are giving them peace in a relationship with God. That is our message. God's message to us is reconciliation or peace, and our message to the world is peace. So we are ambassadors for Christ. An ambassador is a person who lives in another country, a foreign country, and gives the message of the king in whom they represent, or the king or the leader who they represent, and that's what we are. We are ambassadors for a heavenly, for a heaven. God making his appeal through us. We beseech you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our sakes he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. That is chapter 5 of Second Corinthians. And the last thing I want to read is in Revelation, um, starting at chapter 3, verse 7. This is the church of Philadelphia. And to the church, and to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and none shall shut, and that shutteth and none open. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee a door open, which none can shut. That thou hast a little power, and didst keep my word, and didst not deny my name. Behold, I give of the synagogue, I give of the synagogue of Satan, of them that say they are Jews, and they are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee, because thou didst keep the word of my patience. I also will keep thee from the hour of trial, that hour which is to come upon the whole world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. I come quickly. Hold fast that which thou hast, that none take thy crown. He that overcometh, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out thence no more. And I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from God, and mine own new name. Isn't that exciting? So we shall have the name of God on us, and also the name of Jerusalem shall be written upon us. And actually, that just kind of came to me in a second, that the bride that comes, the heavenly description of the church, are the New Jerusalem is described as the bride of Christ, and we are actually the bride, so we will have Jerusalem written on us somewhere on our bodies, because it just said there in the Philadelphian church that the New Jerusalem, the name of the New Jerusalem will be on those who are faithful, and that Jesus Christ will come and redeem us from the earth before the hour of trial, and upon those who are redeemed from the earth at this time will we have the name of God and the New Jerusalem written upon us. We are the bride. Woo-hoo. It's so exciting. So anyway, what I wanted to tell you about was actually a dream I had yesterday morning. And those who've seen my videos before know that I have spoken of a reoccurring dream that I've been having in the last few months. And I haven't really given a lot of details, so I'm going to tell you all about this reoccurring dream that I've had. Now, first, let me just tell you, about 14 years ago, I, when I was singing quite professionally in a show, I was in a show, Broadway show actually, that had gone on tour to Australia. And I was there for just over a year. So I was really a foreigner in this country. And even though they were speaking English, sometimes I was wondering. It didn't always sound like English to me. So, so anyway, I was in this land, and I was anxious to go home. And when my contract was up and coming to the end, and I was getting anxious to get home, but I was also getting anxious about my baggage. And how was I going to get the things that I accumulated while in this country, because I was there over a year, and so I'd accumulated some things. And now what was interesting, I actually accumulated mostly, and I was concerned about were my music. I accumulated music and uh, photographs, so a few souvenirs, and what else did I? Oh, books. Basically, those are the things that I know. There was a few electronics, but mostly, small items like CD players and things like that. So there were small items, but there were mostly books, music, photographs, and souvenirs, things that I had collected from little memorabilia things along my way in Australia. And anyway, so in this reoccurring dream, and like I said, this was about 14 years ago. In this reoccurring dream that I've been having, is that I'm in Australia. I'm in Australia. Now, I guess the Lord chose Australia because in my dreams, because that's where I was. I was in Australia, so I could immediately relate to being somewhere and wanting to go somewhere else, being a foreigner in a land and wanting to be in my true home, which is Canada. I want to be home with my family in my true habitation. And so in this reoccurring dream, I'm always concerned about finding a steamer trunk, because this is basically what I did when I was in Australia. I found a nice size steamer trunk, not too big, not too small, to put my memorabilia in, and I had it shipped from Australia by sea. Um, a couple weeks before I left from Australia, I had it all shipped, and someone came and got the trunks and sent it on a ship, and it took, a couple of months for it to get home. I think maybe 3 months or so from Australia to get to Vancouver. But anyway, in this reoccurring dream, I'm always concerned about finding a trunk to put my things in, so that I can ship it, because I'm getting ready to go home. And in my dream, there's always it seems to be like an time frame of about a couple of months to a few weeks, or 2 or 3 weeks before I have to leave. And so I'm concerned about finding a trunk to put my things in, to ship them off to my true home, things that I've collected. And what I believe that when I'm looking back at it now, what that represented, because I knew what was in those trunks, what I put in my trunks, what were important to me, were things like memories. Basically, my photographs were my memories, the things that I accumulated here in this foreign land, which of course represents earth, being in the earthly home, and my longing for the heavenly home, and preparation for the rapture, and that it's imminent. It's not a long way. I'm not starting my trip. I'm not in the foreign land, just got and arrived there. I'm near the end of this trip. It's time to go home, and I'm preparing for my departure to go home to my true home. And so what was in my trunk were things like my music. These are the things you can take with you. And so this is what the Lord was showing me in these dreams, was there are some things that we can take with us to our heavenly homes. There will be some things that we will take. We won't be able to take a lot of things that we think of. But the Lord was showing me that music, we carry praise, we carry music. These are good memories that build up our spirit, happiness. Music is one of those things that we carry with us, and everyone knows that. Even when you're an elderly person, you go into an elderly home, and people play music. These people have no memories of anything, and yet when they play an old song, they know all the words. They know the words because the music's in their heart. Whether it's the good oldie, the oldies but goodies, or love songs, or praise and worship, especially praise and worship songs and hymns. These things stay with the elderly; they do not leave them. Um, I had an uncle um, who was in a care home. He had lost his memory of everything; didn't remember hardly anybody, and even his own family. But a few days before he died, we had a big party for him, and he used to play the saxophone or no, excuse me, the trombone, and they got him up there. They got him up there. We had this great big party for him. We didn't know he was getting ready to die. We didn't know how close he was to dying, but we had this great big party for him, and all his relatives that were in the area came, and there were and friends. There was a good 100 people or more there, and he had his trombone. We gave him his trombone. He didn't forget how to play that trombone, and he knew his songs. He knew his. It was a wonderful memory. But anyway, so in my trunk there was music. In my trunk there was um, like photographs, memories, good memories, things that you want to remember. Those things I carried in my trunk. They were going to the new home with me. Um, Souvenirs, some good souvenirs. And you realize in heaven that there are things that if you treasure, they're going to be in heaven. I've been, I listen to Kat Kerr. Her name's her nickname is Kat, CAT, and her last name is Kerr, Kerr, Kat Kerr, and she talks about heaven a lot. God has given her a lot of um, visitations to heaven, practically daily for the last several years. And she talks about how the things that we treasure, we can't carry with us physically to heaven, but they will be there in heaven waiting for us. It was a particular, things that mean and matter a lot to us, that will maybe show us signposts along the way of our lives. They will be there for us in heaven. So basically, that's what was in my trunk. So the Lord was showing me that in my steamer trunk, they were on their way to head. They were on their way, and they were making the journey over to the new land, to my true home, my real home. But anyway, that wasn't the dream that I had. Like I said, I've been having this reoccurring dream over and over again about these steamer trunks and having to get them ready and filled and send them off because I'm getting ready to go home. The dream I had yesterday morning is similar. In fact, it was, like I said, the reoccurring dream of being in Australia, having to get home. Now, what was exciting about this dream, it was that there was more detail. And um, what the Lord showed me was actually very interesting. Let me see if I can remember it in the order that I had it. In my dream, I was in Australia. I was in my hotel room, and I became anxious to pack. Now, it wasn't my steamer trunk that I was packing. Knew I had to pack my luggage. Now, my luggage, of course, is something I'd carried on my plane with me. The steamer trunk was something I sent on ahead. Um, but my luggage, of course, is what I put my clothing in. And so I was very anxious because I knew that I had to leave immediately. It wasn't going to be weeks from now. When you pack your luggage, it's because you're getting ready to go. Think about it, people. When you pack your steamer trunk, you've got some time and you're setting it on, weeks in advance. But your luggage, you pack last minute. To say the day of or the day before you leave on a trip, you pack your luggage. Well, this is what I was doing, and I had 3 bags, and I was just basically taking the clothes out of the drawers right out of the dresser drawer and just dumping them into my suitcases because I didn't have time to be fancy or to make sure everything was folded nicely. I just like was all I my main concern was just to get it in to the bags, just dump the clothes in, and so in my dreams, this is what I was doing. I was stuffing these bags, this luggage, with my clothes. And so anyway, this is the interesting part that happened in all this. Um, there was a stewardess who came to check my bags. Now, it wasn't at the airport. She came to check my bags at my hotel room. Okay, because the flight was immediate. I knew that there wasn't much time between the time I was throwing my clothes into the luggage to going to the airport to leave. There was like it was the same day or hours away. And so the stewardess, baggage checker, had come to my hotel room to check my bags. And um, what the Lord showed me was about my clothing was these are my life experiences that I'm taking with me. It's like the Lord was showing me that my concern to put my clothes in my baggage. Now, I'm not a clothes horse. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a clothes horse. I mean, I'm not one of these people who enjoy shopping. Every man's dream. I'm not a big shopper. Even when I was skinny, I never enjoyed shopping. So you tell me you have to pay me to go shopping. I wear my clothes until they're practically falling off because I hate shopping. So anyway, in this dream, I had a lot of clothes, which was surprising to me, even in my dreams, that I had so many clothes. And the Lord was showing me in this uh, uh, vision, this dream that I had, that clothing represents your life walk, your life experiences. It's like a doctor putting on a doctor's coat. You know he's a doctor because he's wearing a doctor's coat, or a lab technician, or a nurse, or a teacher has a certain uniform, or a waitress wears a certain uniform. So these clothings are life experiences that we put on, and these are in my life, I've often complained to the Lord that, sorry, there was a fly. We have, in our life experiences, we put on certain clothes that represent the things that we've done in this earth. And in my life, well, I complained a lot to the Lord about my life because I never understood what my life experience was. It seemed like it was everything. I did just about everything that, I couldn't understand why the Lord brought me through so many experiences. My life wasn't a, one career kind of life. It was lots of different things that I've done in my life. So I've worn a lot of, if you will, clothes in my life. And so that's what was surprising me in my dream, that I had so many clothes. So these are things that we're going to be showing to the Lord. And so in my dream, this stewardess came, the baggage checker came to my room to check my bags, and she was saying, "Well, you're kind of overweighted. You've got too much baggage. It's too heavy." And so I said to her, "Well, these are my clothes. What am I going to do?" So she when she looked at how many they were, she said, "Well, I guess you're going to have to take them. We'll have to her attitude was, "Oh, we're going to have to cut back somewhere else. If we can't not take all these clothes. You have to take these clothes." So she opened one of my bags in my dream, and in my bag, now like I said, this was really interesting too. She opened one of my bags, and in this bag was a light blue blanket. It was quite a big blanket. It was like great big, you know, um, blanket that you put her on your bed, like a queen size bed. It was a big blanket, a light blue blanket, and it was old and it was nubbly. You know how when you have some of these cotton blend comforters or blankets that you put on your bed, and you've used them so often, washed them so often that they kind of get old and nubbly. Well, this is what it looked like. It was it was on in this taking up a whole suitcase. And so she said I was looking at this. We were both looking at this blanket that was taking up this whole suitcase, and we were both going, "Well, that's kind of unnecessary. I don't think you need to take this." And what was interesting was when I was looking at this blue blanket, I didn't want to let it go. In my mind, I was thinking, "Well, let's just get rid of some of those clothes." Let's get rid of some of the clothes. I don't need the clothes. Let's keep the blanket. And I was actually emotionally attached to this blanket. And in my dream, I actually started to tear as I was looking at this blanket. It was like, oh, I need this blanket. So I said, well, and I'm thinking maybe we could just cut a big chunk off of it. Instead of keeping the whole blanket, we could just cut off a great big chunk of it, and I could take that with me instead. So wait, I guess the stewardess, the baggage checker, had the same idea, because out came a big pair of scissors. They were massive, and she took this blanket and she started to cut it, and then she handed me the part that I could take with me. Now, so it's funny because when she handed it to me, I was like, huh? She cut off a little square. It was about that big. It wasn't even as big as a handkerchief. And she hands it to me. And I'm like, is this all I get to take? I was like, I was quite upset because she gave me such a little tiny piece of this blanket. So anyway, I asked the Lord about it later, and he was saying that's your emotional baggage. Not your emotional baggage. It's like he was saying it was like a child's security blanket. A child who carries around a security blanket everywhere they go. This was my security blanket that I was carrying, and I wanted to take it with me to my new home, to my real home. And the Lord's like, you're not taking that. You can take a little teeny chunk, just maybe to remember that earthly securities, but this is not going to be the thing that covers you up in heaven. This is going to be maybe a memory, but that's all you're taking. So I thought that was rather interesting, that he even let me take any of it. That was kind of interesting. But these are earthly securities, I suppose, and as children of God, we have our own little ways of finding, our comfort on earth. And the Lord was saying, "This is all you're going to take from earth. This is it." And so I was a little bit choked by that. Anyway, um, So anyway, this woman then took my baggage, and she's basically took my, because when she had closed it all up, um, I guess there was only two bags now, because that one was gone because the blanket was taken out of it, and I only had these two suitcases full of clothes to take to the airport. So she took the luggage. So people in my dreams, she took the luggage. And so anyway, the next part of the dream was interesting. I was getting ready to go to the airport. I was like, there's not much time. I've got to get to the airport because the flight's getting ready to go. And so I grabbed my purse, and then I stopped. I said, oh, I almost forgot my Bible. I can't forget that. I got to take my Bible. So I went back and with my purse, I opened my purse and I took my Bible and I put my Bible into my purse. And that wasn't all I put in my purse. I actually took, now this was also interesting, I took a romance novel to read on the flight. I said, oh, I better have something to read on the flight. So I took my romance novel, and so I had my Bible and romance novel in my purse. Now, anybody who knows anything about women's purses, this is a woman's closest treasures. This is her where she puts her passports, her tickets, her identity, her makeup, her things, that her little emergency essentials. This is what a woman. This is why women carry their purses everywhere. This is their identity, their closest necessities that they carry with them around. Um, so the Lord was showing me was that my closest identity, what I identified with, or what is my part of my persona, is the Bible, the Word of God. And I can't leave that behind. That's going to go with me too. And anything that when you read the Word, when you read the Bible, it becomes a part of who you are. It's not your just a clothing that you put on. It's not part of your life experience as much as it is a part of who you are. Just as Christ says, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. You are, you are a son of God. And this is where you find it. You find it in the Word. It's part of your closest identity. So what you feel about the Bible, that's who you are, because they're the words of life. They are our very life. It's your passport to heaven. you know it's your ticket. It's who you are. So it's your vital emergency. It's also your emergency um, word. It's where you go when you're in an emergency. You turn to the Word, and it gives you comfort. So in my dream, I had to put my Bible in my purse because it was who I am. It's part of who I am, and that goes with you too. So that like I said, the Word goes with you. And also, I put in this romance novel, which I thought was rather interesting. Instead of putting in, I could have put in anything in my purse. I could have been a book of history, because I liked history. I like history. I love architecture. I love interior decorating. There's a lot of things in my life that I have a passion for. But the Lord was showing me when I put this romance novel in my purse was to say that my love for romance will be something I will take with me to heaven, and that it will be something that I will use in heaven. My love for romance. Isn't that interesting? So, anyway, that was basically the dream that I had. And there was one other part to it, which I'm going to tell you. I had actually got to the airport in my dream. And in my dream, there was a famous actor. I won't tell you who it is. But in this dream, this famous actor was also waiting at the airport. And he was actually with his girlfriend or wife. I'm not sure who exactly. Um, but he was actually flirting with me when I got to the airport, and I'm thinking to myself, this was a man I actually, this actor I kind of had a crush on while I was, I actually had a crush on him because he's kind of cute. And so anyway, he was flirting with me, and I'm thinking to myself, huh? You know, what a dog. I lost my crush on him. It's like the Lord was saying, all your earthly attachments or any ideas of what you thought were, what's the saying? Cute is as cute does, or something like that. He's not so cute to me anymore. So what the Lord was, I guess, saying to me, the things, earthly attachments or things that I thought were desirable on this earth are not going to be desirable to me in heaven, because you will be able to see them clearly, and see them for what they truly are. Anyway, that was basically the end of the dream. So it took half an hour to get that all out, but I think that it's rather exciting because, like I said, this reoccurring dream that I've been having is getting to the point where I'm actually at the airport. Now, this last few months, I've been having this dream. I'm in Australia. I'm getting ready to go. There's still weeks ahead, but now I'm actually at the airport. So I believe that this is a sign to me and also to the church, because the Lord did make me a prophet to the bride. And this is an assignment He gave me 3 years ago. And although I didn't understand it at the time, I'm understanding it more and more. And I do believe that this is a sign that we are imminent for departure. And that's what this means. We're going to our true home, which is heaven, and where departure is imminent, because I am at the airport, people. I'm at the airport. I'm no longer in my hotel room waiting or trying to pack my trunks. I'm at the airport and my luggage has been checked. So anybody, if you haven't packed your baggage, do it now, because you're getting ready to go home. Okay? Anyway, I think this is all I'm going to say today, and I hope you got a little chuckle out of all this. God bless you all, and we'll talk to you later. Oh, by the way, I'll let you know when I'm actually on the flight.